Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that if you're returning. How are you today? Before we get started, if you haven't signed up for our newsletter yet, please do so. All the information you're going to need is in the description box below, along with my email address and Trish's email address, so you can get a hold of us at any time, even if you just need to talk, okay? And a lot of people have been asking me, especially some of our newer members to our community, who's Trish? Well, Trish is like my best friend, okay? She is on our channel every Friday night for live. She is a retired international banker and a day trader and a financial advisor. So, yes, I refer to her a lot, okay? And you will meet her this Friday night if you haven't already, okay? So, grab your coffee, maybe some chocolate, because you just never know with me what's going to come out of my mouth, what's going on in the world today. And I hope you are ready because we have a lot to talk about. Do you have your yoga pants on yet? My coffee cup even says yoga pants and coffee. Toffee and almond flavored coffee. Can't go wrong with that. So let's get into it. So, okay. The increase, all right, in cost for fertilizer, combined with the proposed increase in taxes and the cost of fuel and tractors and their parts will triple, if not quadruple. The price to produce food before it gets to the grocery stores. Okay. I expect a $5 loaf of bread to cost at least $20. And a $10 steak to be like $35 by 2023. Okay. Now, with the current costs to plant, maintain, harvest, seed, fertilizers, herbicides, crop insurance, tiling, tracing, farmers are thinking twice about planting a crop because in many instances, the farmers will lose money even if their harvest is a bountiful harvest and a success. However, thanks to the grand solar minimum, okay, and I know that's considered a curse word, the crops farmers plant will not yield as much grain as the past year, which saw a dramatic decrease in harvesting food, i.e. Durham wheat production saw a 50% decrease in harvest yields, which is why pasta and flour are rising. No pun intended. So farmers saw a dramatic decrease across Canada and the USA in the amount of grains they were able to harvest. Okay? So for those that are carnivores, that is really bad news. For decades, Americans have been able to count on the fact that there would always be mountains of very inexpensive meat at the local grocery store. But now those days are gone and they're not coming back. And I have said in a previous video, the prices that we were paying are going to be considered dirt cheap very, very soon. But I'll go on. So there's so much, okay, that we're going to be discussing, okay, that you're really going to want to get comfortable for this, okay? So, and of course, I'll always leave links in the description box below so you can have your references, okay? So, just like last year, shoppers can expect to see rising food costs continuing this year, 2022. Okay. While grocery prices remained relatively unchanged before the pandemic, between 2015 2019, that is. Okay. Supply chain issues, labor shortages, and overall high demand across the U.S. have been said to contribute to an impending consumer price hike. Manufacturers and grocery stores have especially felt the pressures of keeping essential items in stock. We've seen this. So what did they do? They put non-perishables in the refrigerator section, or they took things of toilet paper and they put it in the candy section to make it look like it was still full. But it was like they were trying to pull the wool over our eyes. But we saw what they were doing and we laughed at them, saying, really? Come on, guys. We're not that stupid. We know what you're doing, because more than half of us at one time or another worked in retail. You know? So, not only has this led to higher production cost, but has in turn led to companies implementing measures like raising retail prices for consumers, and it probably won't get any better anytime soon. Okay, so to better prepare for these changes, there are some staple foods that will see a price increase this year. Okay. Patches. Like, I don't know what she's doing. So, the number one is steaks. But it's beef, so of course we're going to be seeing price hikes like a son of a gun. Okay. Now, steaks have already been known to carry a hefty price tag, right? That's why in most of our, thanks Patches, most of our freezers, you'll see more chicken than you will steak, right on? So, Costco, okay, they have like 18-pack steaks will set you back nearly $750. Patches, really? Not today. But some varieties are about to get even more expensive. This one. So, beef and veal prices have risen dramatically over the past year by up to 20.1%. I know. So meat organizations are taking matters into their own hands to try and keep steak prices from staying high into 2022. She's restless. I can't with her. So, but the efforts aren't making as much ground as hoped. Okay. And when asked about the situation, the North American Meat Institute pointed to a December 10th news release about who is at blame for these price hikes. You can just imagine. So the White House Economic Council is again demonstrating its ignorance on agricultural economics and the fundamentals of supply and demand. And the argument is simply a rise and repeat of their September attempts to blame meat and poultry companies for inflation that is not limited to food, but is being felt across the economy. So, number two, okay, is chicken. So, we have seen a price surge up to 9% from 2020, okay? Number three, get this, mayonnaise. Yeah. So number four, we saw this one coming, eggs. And now there's something called Egg Armageddon going on in Massachusetts. Strangest thing, I know. So number 5 is cereal. Yes, cereal. Number 6, vegetables. So then on to this that I want to talk about, okay? So, excuse me. Now apparently, okay, there's a slew of factors, including poverty, inflation, and the Rona, okay, have placed tens of millions of Americans at risk for food insecurity. And early on in this pandemic, Americans lined up for hours outside of food banks. And we all know this. Why? Because our beloved Trish, she owns and operates a food pantry in Massachusetts. Okay? Awaiting their chance to collect groceries. And many of them had experienced food insecurity before the Rona hit. Okay? Now, tens of millions of others were new to such assistance. Only thanks to emergency federal intervention was a serious hunger crisis averted in 2020. Unfortunately, even as the pandemic has eased by some measures, a range of factors is still preventing many Americans from finding enough to eat. Now, those stresses, okay, they continue to fall on the nation's food banks, and the food banks are struggling as well because they can't even get funding. A lot of them cannot get funding. They really can't. Ask Trish. She will tell you. She will tell you. Okay? Now, as the Rona drags on, their mission is becoming harder and more expensive to ensure that the lingering effects of Rona doesn't lead to sparse dinner tables this winter, and Congress should step up for charities that help keep Americans fed. But when you have some charities like the Catholic charities that are saying, you don't have this, well, guess what? You're not getting any help. Well, wait a second. When you're homeless and the only thing you're worried about is, guess what? I'm cold and I'm hungry. This is the last thing they're worried about. Okay? So because you're Catholic charities, that's what you should be worried about, is making sure these people are fed and making sure these people are warm, because that's what you receive donations for, is to help these people be fed and be warm. Not pushing an agenda, for crying out loud. But I'll go on. So, food insecurity is a condition in which individuals and families lack access to enough food to live a healthy life. So, even with such help, okay, food insecurity has persisted. And when Rona and its economic disruptions hit, already vulnerable demographics found themselves in particular need. So, to the newly unemployed, there were those whose hours were cut substantially. Okay, the parents suddenly forced to stay home due to closed schools and daycares. The impact on food banks was dramatic. Now, according to the charity Feeding America, okay, the number of people needing food assistance soared to 60 million in 2020. Imagine that. 60 million people in 2020 alone. That's up to 50% from the previous year. Let that sink in, okay? Now, Congress, of course, they responded with a range of emergency measures, including expanding SNAP benefits and school meal delivery programs. But for food banks, The most important step was a $1.2 billion injection to the Emergency Food Assistance Program, which the Department of Agriculture buys food from farmers and distributes it to states. In 2020, that program and others allowed Feeding America and its associates to distribute 2.5 billion meals. That assistance worked wonders despite the pandemic and associated disruptions. American food insecurity didn't increase in 2020. So there's a lot more that needs to be said about this. A lot more. Okay? And there's a lot more. All right? But I can get into serious trouble if I don't watch my mouth. So I'm going to jump back real quick, okay? And talk about something that I was just talking about the rise in prices of meats and stuff like that. Okay, so we're going to be seeing some insane price rising, okay? Almost to the point where even rationing, I don't think is going to cut it. I really don't. Unfortunately, it isn't just the price of beef that is soaring here, okay? Tyson Foods just released also some numbers that show that beef, pork, and chicken prices are rising dramatically. The biggest meat company by sales in the United States has announced significant rises, okay, for the fourth quarter as an impact to the highest inflation for 30 years continues to be felt. That's insane. All right. Now, Tyson Foods, based in Springdale, Arkansas, they announced that chicken prices rose 19% during its fiscal fourth quarter, while beef and pork jumped 33 and 38%. Now, I had done a video over a month ago, before Thanksgiving, I believe, saying, I want you to get ready because the first week of January, you're going to see price hikes on all meats, even something as small as Hebrew National hot dogs. They're pretty much going to be untouchable pretty soon. And I even went as far as getting a second freezer and stocked it up. And I was hoping and praying that I was being heard. I don't know. But Tyson Foods said that they have been slow to increase their prices in line with inflation. But they have to make up for that delay. They said, we expect to take continued pricing actions to ensure that any inflationary cost increases that our business incurs are passed along, he said. Now, you know what that means when they say passed along. To you and me, okay? But sadly, this is just the beginning here, guys. All right, the price of meat is only going to go higher and higher and higher, and eventually it's going to get to the point where it's going to get exceedingly painful and completely out of reach for the average person. That's it. I mean, of course, there's going to be many that will argue that we're already there. We've seen the prices. I've shown you the prices. I've actually had someone comment just today on a video that I did 2 weeks ago. This is why I hate these kind of videos. Well, then why are you watching that? She didn't like the videos because there was too many pictures or something like that. I'm trying to show you what's really going on here. Obviously, reality is not her friend, huh? But I'll go on. So as food prices continue to climb, those that help the needy are going to have a much more difficult time trying to do so. For example, the Salvation Army, they are projecting that it will need 50% more funding than last year as it feeds more Americans than ever before. And they're planning to serve more meals than in 2020's record year. And will need around 50% more funding to meet the buoyed demand. We're fearful, they say, of what we're calling pandemic poverty. Wow. That's a new term, huh? Pandemic poverty. And here's something else. The price of gasoline is going to continue to shoot up as well. And no, angel face. Angel face. Your religion, angel face. I'm sorry. Gas prices in California have broken a new record, with the average price tag of being $4.68 for regular gas. It was the third day in a row the state has recorded regular breaking prices, as Monday's average gas price was $4.68, Sunday's was $4.67, which broke the previous state record of $4.67 in October of 2012. Downtown LA, one unfortunate motorist ended up paying more than $6 a gallon. $6.05 to be exact. Wow. Hyundai Elantra cost $71.59 to fill up the tank. Hyundai Elantra. That's a small-ass car. And don't think that these rising gas prices are not going to happen where you live, especially everyone in the entire country will be seeing such prices, because there's a new term out called Bidenflation. Yeah. But here on this channel, we'll say potatoflation. How about that? So, consumers are becoming increasingly pessimistic. The University of Michigan's Consumer Sentiment Index fell to 66.8 in November, down sharply from the October reading of 71.7, and well below economists' forecast for a reading of 72.4. It's just becoming way too much anymore, is it not? It's just becoming increasingly clear that things are going to get even worse in the months ahead. It really, truly is. Our leaders continue to promise that they will make progress on the problems that we're facing, but those problems just keep escalating. In fact, the number of giant container ships waiting off of the coast of Southern California just hit a new record high again. On Friday and Monday, yet another record was set for a number of the container ships stuck at anchor or in holding patterns. off the ports, 83. 83. The average wait time at anchor for ships arriving in LA hit another fresh peak on Tuesday. 16 days. 16. So, all right, guys, that's all for this video. Okay, I'll see you in the next one. I love you. All right, you stay safe, you stay positive, you keep prepping, and as always, fear less. Okay, ciao.